Hi class, let's take just a few minutes and talk about some of the things that are going on in 391. First of all, you should have all received your group assignments this morning. They are posted to the class announcements, and I emailed them out to each of you. You're also assigned to those groups within iLearn. So if you have any questions about those groups, please let me know. Like I said, consideration was taken when making those groups, and hopefully you can all work something out with your schedules. There are one or two of you that your schedules just didn't match up with anyone else, so you're going to have to do your best to communicate with your group members and see what you can do to make adjustments to the time. If it turns out that you're one of those group members that for whatever reason just can never meet with the group, that's okay. You just need to make sure that you are prepared in advance of the meetings and that you communicate frequently and quickly electronically. You won't be docked points for not meeting if it is something that is truly out of your control. For example, some of you do shift work at hospitals. I know that you don't necessarily have that much control over your schedules. However, you need to make sure that you notify your group members, that you do your best to attend when you can, and that you are prepared in advance of that meeting. All of you need to start checking your emails regularly for communication from your group members. And by regularly, I mean every single day. Do it. Just do it. I know you can do it. If you would prefer to communicate with your group members via some other electronic form, that is okay. You just need to make sure that you let them know and that all group members agree on that. For example, a lot of people use Gmail instead of their BYU Idaho accounts. Whatever you decide to do, you need to communicate it to your group members. I will only communicate with you via your BYU Idaho accounts, so you need to check that daily as well. Okay, so we are moving forward. We're moving into the evaluation portion of this class. You have a very long reading this week. That chapter 13 and 14 Mackenzie reading is long and it is dry, and I apologize, but it is great reading. So please make sure that you read through that, and I wish there were flashing lights and a disco ball or something just to emphasize this. You need to cite the Mackenzie reading, that chapter 13 and 14 reading, the very, very long reading. You need to cite it twice in the Lesson 2 relevance assignment. I believe that's what it is. The DARE letter, it needs 2 references to the Mackenzie reading, not to some other reading, to the Mackenzie reading. You are welcome to cite any other reading, but that is what the rubric is referring to. It will go out in the announcements. I'm telling you now, if you do not cite the Mackenzie reading, you will lose points. And you will be sad, but you will lose points because that is part of the assignment, whether it should be or not. That is part of the assignment, and we are going to follow the directions of the assignment. Okay, so you've been put in groups. You're reading that long reading. You're working on the relevance assignment. People are starting to have questions about research topics. Discuss as a group what research topic you would like. I can assign you a research topic if you like, but it is going to make for a very long and boring semester. And as much as I like those research topics, you probably won't. So come up with something that you find interesting. A couple things to stay away from. Anything that is in violation of the BYU Idaho Honor Code cannot be studied as part of this class. What does that mean? It means you cannot ask people about their sexual habits, tobacco, alcohol use, excessive caffeine use, unless we do that very carefully. Anything to do with drugs, even legalized marijuana. We cannot touch those issues. We also really need to stay far away from anything to do with children. You can ask about children generally, but you can't ask about anyone's own childhood experience or experience with their own child. We need to be very careful of pregnancy. We are going to stay far away from anything to do with cognitively impaired individuals, and we're going to be very careful with anything to do with the elderly. The reason for these restrictions is that we are going to submit our projects through the BYU IRB. And what is the IRB? It's the Institutional Review Board. Basically, it's the university's ethics board. There are rules about what undergraduate students can and cannot do if they go through an expedited IRB review. What is an expedited IRB review? Basically, the people on the IRB committee are going to review your project. They're going to make sure that no harm will come to your participants by participating in your project. Things that we might not think are harmful, they might find harmful. So essentially any embarrassing research questions, they're going to flag those. The way that I'm sure some of that you are asking, well, there are projects done with pregnant women and elderly and on drugs and alcohol all the time. Why can't I do those? Well, those projects go through a full IRB review, which will take 4 to 6 weeks. We're going through the expedited review, which will take 3 to 5 business days, usually closer to 2. You don't have 4 to 6 weeks. Stay away from those topics. If for some reason you do choose one of those topics and you are told not to do it, and believe me, you will be told repeatedly not to do it, the IRB will tell you that you have to start your project from the beginning, around Thanksgiving, maybe slightly before Thanksgiving, and that will be terrible. You will have to redo the entire project, so stay away from those topics. If they flag your project, there's nothing I can do about it besides help you fix it. They actually do have ultimate authority on rejecting topics. So we're going to talk about your topic. Very few student groups have ever had to do that in the 4 years that I've been teaching, but every once in a while we have someone that wants to go rogue. Don't do it. You'll be sad. Okay, if you have any questions this week, please let me know. You'll start to see some grades come in this week as you turn in those assignments. I've had students that have questions about when assignments are graded. We have a policy as 391 instructors that we will not grade anything until the due date. And that is because in most cases you can go in and make changes to your assignments up until the time that it is due. So if you start to wonder, why is Sister Suker the slowest grader I've ever had? All of your stuff will be graded within the 7 business days that the university has required the instructors to do, unless I send an email letting you know something has happened. But I will not start grading until the due date has passed. So you will see a lot of grading done on Tuesday and Thursday mornings between 7 and noon Rexburg time, and that's because that's when my little kids are at preschool. And so I do a lot of grading on Tuesdays and Thursdays mornings. If you have any questions, that's a great time to email me. I've also had some questions about setting up phone calls, and we can set up phone calls, but I beg you, please don't just randomly call because I will not understand you. It is crazy town at my house. I have 3 kids, 7 and under, who have absolutely no volume control. And they especially have no volume control when mom is on the phone, and it is crazy town. So I'm happy to talk to you on the phone, but let's set up a time to do that. Also, I have students every semester that ask why my preferred method of communication is either email or text message, and that's so that if you have another question after our conversation, you can continue to refer back to that email or text message and you have it in writing. The other reason is there is a lot of miscommunication between group members, and people come back and forth and say, I talked to Sister Suker on the phone and she said this, and no, I talked to her and she said this. No, we can solve all of that if we do the majority of our communication via email, because no one is interpreting what Sister Suker says, because it might be crazy town with all the people. We can just read what I said, and everyone can read it. We can disseminate it to the whole group exactly how it was originally said. Also, you have a paper trail of what I said throughout the semester, and I have a paper trail of what you said. And we really, really want to have that so we have less confusion. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email or text me. Those are my preferred methods of communication. If for some reason we need to set up a phone call, let's set up a time when the little monsters are not here so we can actually have a phone call. Have a fantastic week.